Congresswoman Sherry Bustos is a Democrat from Illinois and the only Democratic member of the state's delegation from outside Chicago. She also serves as the co-chair of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, and she joins us, I'm happy to say, today from the Capitol. So welcome, Congresswoman. Good to have you here.
Thank you. That's a mouthful, all of that.
Well, you got an awful lot on your resume there, ma'am, already. So let's go back to one of the things I said, which is you're the only, as I understand it, Democrat from outside of Chicago in the Illinois delegation. Is that a coincidence, or are Democrats having a tough time appealing to districts such as yours, rural districts across the country?
Well, Democrats have had a hard time. I think that's going to change in November of 2018, here just 41 days away. You know, the problem was over an 8-year period, Democrats lost about 1,000 seats when you look at governor's mansions, state legislatures, and Congress. Part of that was due to the fact that Democrats were writing off much of rural America, or they would see a small town or a less populated county and say, you know, that's a Republican area, we're just not going to show up. What we're doing this cycle, and you know, to your earlier point, how did I win by 20 points in a district that Donald Trump won? I hope people back home in downstate Illinois will say, well, she shows up. It doesn't matter that my town has 300 people. She comes and she uses her 2 ears and her 1 mouth proportionately and listens, and then goes back out to Washington and knows what concerns us and what folks back home want me to fight for.
So when we talk about how the Democrats could appeal to rural districts in a way perhaps they have not in the past, is it the issues or is it the people?
I think it's been a combination of the two. I was vice chair of recruitment last election cycle, not this one, where I was helping to recruit candidates running for Congress all over the country. And we found in too many areas that the people who wanted to run didn't necessarily fit their congressional districts. Maybe they were farther left-leaning than a swing district or a purple district, or a slightly even red district, where if you're a Democrat running in a purple or slightly red district, you better figure out how to navigate that. And so this cycle, I think we've got candidates that fit their districts like a glove. To your point about the policies, look, I've been a Democrat my whole life. I'm proud to be a Democrat. I know why I'm a Democrat, because we fight for people who just want to get ahead. But when you walk into a room, you don't always have to bring up issues that have a tendency more to divide than unite. And the order in which you talk about issues and the issues that you focus on heavily, the kitchen table issues, like, you know, addressing the cost of health care and the price of prescription drugs, the fact that we do want to rebuild America, including making sure that high-speed internet broadband is provided for the 23 million rural Americans that don't have it now. And frankly, we've got to clean up the corruption that comes out of this building where I'm standing right now. It is out of control. Washington is not a place where, frankly, I think the other side of the aisle is fighting for the people, like we know that we're here to do as Democrats. So it's just all of that combined. But November of 2018, I think, is a new day.
So help me a little bit on one of these. I noticed the first issue you mentioned was health care, actually. We put up while you were talking some graphics about your district. And in fact, you have a relatively low percentage of people who are unemployed, who do not have health insurance. Does it remain nonetheless a big issue for your voters back there in Illinois?
It's one of the top issues, because I can tell you this, that while we have a low unemployment rate right now, that's taken a long time to get to that rate. In the last 6 years, our unemployment rate actually has been higher than the rest of the state of Illinois and most of the rest of the country. But our wages, like so many rural communities, the wages of people have not gone up to the same level as their expenses. One of those biggest expenses is health care. And I can tell you, when I do something called Supermarket Saturdays, where I walk the aisle of grocery stores, and all I do is I say, hi, I'm Sherry Bustos. I represent this area in Congress. What's on your mind? What do you want me to fight for? And after they say, can you just get something done, and can you clean up things in Washington, the next thing out of their mouths is, health care is a big concern. My mom has a pre-existing condition. My son was born with cerebral palsy. I've had cancer. I'm very concerned about pre-existing conditions, being able to get health insurance. Very concerned about being able to afford it. It is a top issue, no doubt about it.
Okay, so finally, do you have the leadership you need up there on Capitol Hill? I mean, there's an opening, actually, with Representative Crowley, who will not be returning to Congress. Are you interested in moving up to one of the top positions in leadership?
Well, you know, that'll be the will of our caucus as far as who becomes our speaker, our whip, our leader, our assistant Democratic leader, caucus chair. All of that is the will of our caucus. I am currently in a leadership position. I'm one of the 3 co-chairs of the Policy and Communications Committee, which means I do have a seat at the table. And probably worth noting is I'm the only Midwesterner sitting around that leadership table. I'm the only person in the Democratic caucus who comes from a district that Donald Trump won, sitting around that leadership table. I think that's an important voice because when we win back the majority, a good deal of those seats will be in districts like mine that are swing districts, that they're districts that Donald Trump won, and that we as Democrats have to say to the American public, please put your faith back in us, and we will prove to you that we will get something done. And we've got to prove that, and we've got to make sure that when we win the majority, we're going to do the hard work of cleaning up corruption, bringing down the cost of the escalating health care prices, and that we rebuild America. And at the same time, we'll create another 16 million to make sure people are ready for those jobs.
So for what it's worth, I have no doubt it's an important voice because I'm from Michigan. So if you have some Midwesterners in there, good for you. Good for you.
I felt that bond with you.
That's right, exactly.
Through the lens and